In this exercise, we're going to cover a few of the editing commands and modification commands that are available in AutoCAD. So I'm going to zoom into the sample drawing here, and we'll take a look at this one here. First one's called Move. The shortcut is M if you were to type it, but choose Move. It says Select Objects. What would you like to move? So in this case, let's say I want to grab these three items here. I can pick each item individually, or I can use the crossing window where you select outside the area, click and drag your mouse right to left, and anything touching this green box will get selected. Click. That's the fastest way to select these three items. Escape, escape. What you don't want to do is use the move command and click on this one, and this one individually one at a time because that can be very slow. By the way, my pick box here is fairly big because it's easy for me to see and use it to select objects. Escape, escape. Pick box is a command that I've set up for 5. I believe the default is 3. If you want to make that box bigger, I would use 5 as an example to pick objects with that little box on your cursor. So move command, let's say I want to move these 3. I won't go right to left, left to right because that's a crossing window. That is a pick box. And anything completely inside that blue box gets selected. This line here doesn't exist completely inside the blue box. Neither does this one here. This one does because the beginning and end of that line is within the boundary here. So that's the only object there that gets selected. So usually you want to use crossing window and go backwards. Let's select these 3. It asks me to keep selecting. If I'm done, hit enter. And then it's asking me for a base point. From where do I want to start moving this object? So let's say I randomly pick a point out here. And I want to move that object 5 feet to the left. So ideally, I want not to have this angle here. So again, ortho is here, right there, a little 90-degree angle. And I can basically force this to move directly to my left without any odd angle, just directly to the left here. And I can type a number. So whatever number I type, that object will move that distance. So if I point to the left and type 12, and enter, then it moved it 12 inches and the command terminated. There's no more work to be done there. You finished the move command. I can also use move command using endpoints, like an OSNAP. I move these objects again, hit enter, and this time I want to be very specific. I want this corner to be moved to this corner. So I want to make sure I use my OSNAPs. The OSNAPs are here. I've got these activated currently. And so here, when it says specify the base point, this time I do care where I select. I want to go from this corner exactly, click, that begins to move. And then I go to this corner here exactly. This is how you want to draft. You never want to guess if you're near the corner. You want to snap onto the corner using these OSNAP little tools. Click. That makes the drafting perfect. Next tool is called copy. Again, if I grab these 3 lines, select them here, click, enter, and then it says specify base point. We've done this before. Pick a point in space, and then go left, right, up, and down. Got ortho turned on. If I go to the left and type 36, for example, for 36 inches, it will copy that object perfectly to the left, 36 inches away. And the command is still activated. So for example, here I can type 18, enter, and it copied it 18 away. So on and so forth. It'll keep making more copies until you hit escape or you choose exit on the menu. And there are made 2 copies. By the way, I would avoid drawing objects on top of objects or moving objects on top of other objects. I would not move this object and place it on top of those objects. That is a big issue with AutoCAD. You never want to draw something on top of something else that's already drafted in the same location. It's a very sloppy way to do your work. I'm going to delete these. I'm going to highlight them both. Delete on my keyboard. That's copy command. Rotate. Let's say I copy and then rotate. So let's go copy. CO is copy. Grab this. Click. Start it. And I'll pick arbitrary point. I'm just going to pick with my mouse. Click. Escape, escape. Let's say I want to rotate this 90 degrees. So rotate command is here. Click. It says specify. This is select objects. Okay, these 3. enter, specify base point. From where do I want to rotate these objects? Let's say I want to rotate these objects from this exact corner here, around the clock. Click on the corner you want to rotate it from, and notice here I'm stuck rotating at 90 degrees. So as I move my mouse, left, top, bottom, left, and right, I can click on the screen and the object will be rotated in that direction at that rotation. Or I can type a number. So for example, here, okay, here, if I type rotate, I grab this, grab that corner, and then I type 45, enter, it moves it 45 degrees. 45 degrees positive means counterclockwise. It'll rotate it from that corner 45 degrees in a clockwise rotation. I'm going to undo that. Undo. I'm going to rotate it again, RO, select objects, enter, pick a point, and now I'm going to type negative 45. So now it will go clockwise at a 45-degree angle, and all three of those lines will be part of the selection. Therefore, all three of those lines will rotate suddenly 45 degrees from this corner using the rotate command. Undo. Now, you don't have to choose a rotation on the object. I can type rotate, enter, click this object, and rotate it from way over here. Click. That becomes the center of rotation. Now, when I rotate, you'll see here, if I move my mouse left, right, top, and bottom, again, with ortho turned on, or F8 on your keyboard, it will rotate it around this location. Escape. So the center rotation is very, very important when you do rotations. I'm going to delete this. Mirror command. Let's say I had a line right here, and I wanted to copy these walls to the opposite side of this line with the same orientation, but flipped over. So when I can use copy command to flip this over to here, but it'll make an exact copy. It'll look exactly the same. If I want to mirror it, like let's say pages of a book, I'm flipping it over, then that's a mirror command. Here's mirror command here. So mirror command says select objects. Let's say I select these objects here, enter, specify first point of mirror line. So what it wants you to do is select about what line will this object flip over and copy itself, but mirror it over. So this line is already here. I need to select 2 points on top of this line. So I've got the endpoint snap turned on right now. So I can pick here and up here at the top. And those 2 points connected together are a straight line. Click. And then do you want to erase the source object? Do you want to erase the original? Yes or no. Currently it's set to no. The brackets here says no. So it's going to say no, don't erase the original. You can click here at yes, or you can type the keyboard Y and it'll do the same thing. It'll accept a yes. I'm going to choose no, don't erase the original, enter. And there's the object here. I copied these over that center line. I'm going to erase these again. I can do the same mirror command a second time. Click here, and I don't have to select anything. I can simply be out in space here, anywhere. Obviously, then it becomes arbitrary because obviously, what distance is this between here and here? We don't know. But I can choose in space a line here vertical, and it'll copy it vertically. I can go horizontal, and it'll copy it underneath, flipped over horizontally. So again, this only works because I've got ortho turned on. And you typically want ortho turned on whenever you do a mirror, this direction or this direction. Click and enter. And there, I flipped over that line over to here, some arbitrary distance, because I did not have a guideline here that was located in the perfect center. If I had to do it perfectly, I would draw a line here in the exact center, use it as a guide to flip over, and then erase that guide. Delete. That was the mirror command. The other command that they'd like us to learn here is called array. So let's say I draw a rectangle over here. So again, here the rectangle command. If I draw a little tiny rectangle here and I want to make copies of it, well, there's the copy command there. It lets me make multiple copies of it. But let's say there is a faster way of producing the copies, because this tool is great if you want to copy one or two or very few copies. But if I want to copy many, I want to make 4 rows of 3 columns. That's a different situation. So in that case, you want to use the array command. The array command comes in different um, options here. The little pull down menu, flyout lets you have different options: rectangle, path array, and polar. Rectangle array gives you a grid. They have rows and columns. Oh, polar array lets you copy things in a circle. For example, that conference room table. And then a path array lets you copy multiple items along a line of some sort. And you can see the example there. F1 to give you the help menu to see more information. So let's say I want to copy this in an array as a rectangle. So I'll grab this object, hit enter. And then here, there's a menu. And you have to basically fill out the blanks, well, they're predetermined currently. You have to fill out the menus and answer these questions. How many columns? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 vertical columns here. If I want to make a change, I would do 3 columns. Hit enter, and it reduces to 3. If I want to do 6, highlight, replace it with 6, hit enter, and it'll continue to do the work until I choose close array, and then it'll remain on the screen. So you can continue working here until your heart's content. The distance between the columns, this gap right here, is currently 1'4". I can make it 24 inches, hit enter, and the gap becomes wider. I made that 24 inches right here. The total distance from start to finish is 10 feet. If I made that 8 feet, enter, then it becomes 8 feet. That obviously changes this number here. They work in tandem. If I either have a difference between the columns that I know, or I know the overall total, start to finish, I want 10 feet. Then it'll let me know what the in between is automatically with programming. Here, rows are horizontal. So here, if I want 5 rows, 5, enter, I get 5 rows. Either I want the start to finish, how many do I want from beginning to end total? If I want 5 feet, I type 5 feet and enter. This slightly jumps to 5 feet. This is a 5 foot start to finish distance. And that means the gap in between here are 1'3". And so I can do this work to my heart's content. And then when I'm happy, I hit close. And then here I have an array that lets me return later and update the settings here. Hit escape, escape. You can see here, these are all part of an array. They're all selected together. Therefore, they're part of an array that lets me manipulate these numbers and make changes. If I want to modify the array, I can explode the array, and then I can start erasing individual parts of the array. So the explode command is here. If I choose this, hit enter, then suddenly I can grab that rectangle there, and this rectangle here, and this rectangle here, without selecting the entire array. I lost the option to manipulate the array because exploding it first destroys the array. And if I explode it again, it destroys the rectangle and it becomes a bunch of individual lines, which is obviously not ideal. I want to be able to select that box instead of selecting 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. But there's a time and a place when you would need to do that. Let me erase this. Let me draw a circle. C is for circle. Draw a circle on the screen here. Let me draw a line from the center of the circle. So my O snaps here have center option chosen. So if I hover near this circle, the little green dot gets activated on the center of the circle. Click, And there is a perfectly uh, centered line. So if I want to copy this in an array around a circular design, I would use an array that is polar. Polar array, select the objects. I want to select this object here, hit enter, and then specify the center point of the array. Where is dead center? Where is the center of the circle? It's here. Snap to that. And then here it says, well, here it says how many items? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So here it says 6 items. I can make that 12 items. I can make that 4 items. So I copied that line with a total of 4. I can do this by angle. So let's say 45-degree angle. That's the case. So I'm creating 4 lines at a 45-degree angle, and positive means counterclockwise, making 4 copies in a counterclockwise direction, and then it's going to fill a space of 135 degrees. 90 degrees plus another 45 is 135 degrees total. These become more relevant. These are not so relevant because we're doing a polar array. I want this to go a total of 360 degrees, and then I want this to be 20. Then it copies it in a perfect circle about the center of the arc, and I hit close. Therefore, these are part of an array. If I click them, they're all connected together because they're all part of an array, which allows me to come back later and manipulate these settings here. Items, between, and fill. I can then decide to delete the array by going to explode command, clicking on this object, and then you lose the control of the array here. You lose this menu, but you gain access to these lines to be able to individually erase certain lines and keep others. That's a polar array. I'm going to draw a quick arc, and we'll cover this in the future. If I had an arc here, for example, and I had a circle here, and I chose an array here, and I chose this and hit enter. Well, actually, escape. Let's do this again. Let's go here and do a path array. So select the object. I want this object to be copied on that path. So this is the object here, hit enter, and then select the path. Well, the path curve is this, click. And then here, you can then manipulate the distance in between here along that path. So these will all be equidistant from each other. And here you can change this number. It's available. These guys are deactivated. This is activated. So if I typed 24, then these are 24 inches apart along that path. If I typed 8, then these are 8 inches apart between each circle along that arc, and I can hit OK. There's some additional tools that are available. Feel free to experiment with those much further, but this is the basics of the array command. This is the basics of the path array, which is very useful to copy things along a path. It could be a curvy path or it could be a straight path. And again, delete the array to access the individual circles if you need to erase some and keep others. Delete. And we are done with our tray of modification tools that we're covering. Okay, we'll see you next chapter.